And
Hello.
I think we are the early birds.
Again, please.
I guess we are the early birds. I think nobody's there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as always. No,
Yeah.
they will come in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning. I'm testing your new headset. Am I audible?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
That's great.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jordan. We'll give it another minute or so, but we do have quite the agenda, so definitely want to get started on time.
The agenda is pretty packed.
Yes, it sure is.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good day.
Okay, it's already a couple after, so I think we should get started because the agenda is very packed. So when your item comes up, please be mindful of the time, just so we can get to most of the items, if not all of them. So Lucas, you are up first with your security proposals.
Okay. First of all, we have the vote that we took, and secondly, I have a couple other things I want to put on the table. Maybe let's just start by talking about the vote. Do people agree?
Yeah, so we are still missing 3 of the TSC members' votes. I have pinged each of those 3. So just please, if you can email me your votes as soon as possible today, just because I would prefer to get all the votes if possible. And then I can send around the final tally.
Okay. So I want to initiate a discussion of two items. These are both kind of up for discussion before formalizing them. The first one is kind of an update to the concept about Dependabot updates. So I propose that we create a project to cover only the relatively easy upgrades, which are kind of merges mainly. But they do take thought, but they're not hard. And I propose that we kind of just like define this role and figure out how to get it covered. So let me stop there and I don't know, ask for feedback and thoughts.
Yeah, what the role would do, which we are going to define.
This would it would merge PRs generated by Dependabot that are not too hard, and it would figure out paths to do upgrades that were too complicated for Dependabot to automatically figure out. What it would not do is thoughtful engineering. I mean, those upgrade paths can be pretty hard, but it wouldn't do, real internal coding.
Sorry, did I get this correctly? You want to backport something to 1.6. The 1.6 CI pipeline is not maintained at all. So I would think it would be a very huge effort to do a release there.
Yep. And backporting without releasing does not do anything.
Well, I would actually say that was the second item, and we were discussing the first one. But I find I'm very open to whatever consensus we reach on that. But I think we should consider it because if people are still using 1.6, then it's going to be accumulating security debt.
Is 1.6 still supported? My understanding was always that the last two release versions are supported.
Right, so it would be 1.8 and 1.9.
Currently 1.7 and 1.8.
1.7, 1.8. But so the reason 1.6 comes up is apparently this is widely deployed in the field, I think because of Wave Labs.
Yeah, Lucas, I think there were few folks, but we are pushing them to move to 1.9. So
yeah,
maybe it's just a matter of a couple of weeks. As soon as we finalize on 1.9, we will push them all to move to 1.9 basically. Because it is hard for us also to do maintenance. So what we are doing in 1.6 is like, some basic configuration, some tunings here and there. So as such fixes as for now we are not doing. So yeah. So
yeah.
it is there, but we will, as soon as 1.9 dates are finalized, we'll force them to move to 1.9.
So I find that a really convincing answer, and because for the reasons that Nils and Max said, 1.6 is pretty intimidating. So would everybody agree that we should focus on 1.9 and not do backporting to 1.6?
Yes, from my perspective, yeah.
Yeah, same here.
So returning to item number 1 to define this role. Do we want to have more discussion? There's so much on the agenda. I don't want to drag it down.
I mean, I see the necessity for this, and I like the idea to have a role defined or a way, let's say, a process defined how we are going to do this. Do you want to put something in a motion here to vote, or you are planning to prepare more detailed proposals for this?
Yeah, I'll prepare a more detailed proposal. I just wanted to gather feedback and
Mm.
circulate the idea before I did that. One thing this might be is a bounty for for new developers. So kind of is a good first issue for a lot of people. So it might be like that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic idea to do. So I mean, yeah, from my side, I'm perfectly fine with this. Actually, I like the idea. I don't know about the other guys.
I'll cede the mic. Thank you for this time.
Thanks, Lucas. Next item, India-friendly times for meetings. This came up during the outreach working group last week. Sam, I did not know if you wanted to say more on this. Besides, we're just trying to gather information on if it's something of interest to have better time slots for these meetings for folks that are based in India, as I know it's very late that some of these meetings that they're attending.
Yes, we did discuss it. And Yogesh is actually taking a little bit of a discussion internally, and then he's going to suggest a couple of slots.
Oh, fantastic.
On this. So yeah, it was covered.
Okay, great. Then we can go ahead and go to the next item. My page stopped. There it is. Okay, gathering user feedback.
Yes,
Tom?
I would like to, and again, my apologies, I have been due this to the TSC for some time. Let me see if I can share my screen with this. Do I need permission or we just?
You should be able to.
Just give me 1 second while I'm reading this up. Okay, so this is an extract from a document that I had put together that I'll be able to share internally. I had to put it in a different Google Drive and stuff due to restrictions of the thing. So let me talk to this real quickly. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so starting from about December for the last 2 to 3 months, I have tried reaching out to as many people that are interested in Magma, using Magma, and had multiple meetings with them because sometimes you have to go through and get the things pulled back and so on, to get some feedback and try to stack ranking areas of items that they wanted to give or pass on to Magma TSC. My question was, what is it that you'll need? And if you had a forum to get feedback to the Magma Technical Steering Committee, what is your feedback? Can you stack rank all these items that I put together? And this list grew a little bit as people added their own stuff to it. And unfortunately, I can't share the full names of them because I don't have permissions from them. But if I'm happy to discuss all the details and drill down more into it. But this is a collection as of end of last month of the areas for stack ranked into what this group of 8 or 9 people that came back and responded. I am hopeful to get another 2 or 3 people at least from my list, and their discussion that come in, the new entries that are coming in and getting interested and get questions up on this. So I'm just going to throw it here, share it here on screen, and I'm going to get this to Kendall for sharing and putting it up on the wiki. Anything I can support on this other than, so let me stop and listen to any question that may come up that you guys have.
First question, I'm not familiar with HIL testing. What was the meaning of it?
Hardware in the loop.
Ah, hardware in the loop, okay. Thanks.
Sorry.
Does that mean like non-simulated tests?
Yeah,
Well,
correct. It mean,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it would mean testing on the real equipment. Testing on the on a real AGWs, testing on with the real InnodeBees, testing with the real CPs or user equipment. So all the varieties would come into hardware in the loop.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah,
Like
so I think so.
a hardware issue. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think some of them we covered in as part of release 1.8, meaning not, it's not specific to 1.8, but some of the reports we have kept it as part of 1.8 release notes. So, but yeah, as Jordan mentioned, it's a mixture of real EMB testing with different combinations, some long run tests like 3 days, 4 days, with some level of stress. So all these combinations are there. Yeah, the details are there in our release notes. I can share it later in the group.
So go ahead. Please, go ahead.
I think, yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Yeah, I'll share the details of the test case.
Okay, so two items here, and again, this I felt was a good discussion with each of them on getting what they are individually interested in. Now, understand this is a very small group, and whatever we can do to expand this group is important, right? So the paid development support on the very back that, in the community transition that went away. But one of the things that was brought up by almost everybody that if TSC has any funds left, if there are any areas that they can address it, it'll be useful. I'm just gonna represent what was discussed in there. You will see that there is no number 5 in here because there's a small group and the spread was just, there's like votes in all over and people could pick multiple areas. Point out a couple of things that I didn't have on my list as I went and talked to people that on retrospect makes a lot of sense. One of the comments that everybody said was the documentation. There's a lot of documentation, but it's hidden. It's actually kind of not hidden, but it's spread out all over the place. And it'll be good to, as part of this transition, to start going forward, streamline and make it a little bit easier to access. And there are two groups into this feedback. One were people that was involved in Magma early on. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to get a lot of time with Freedom Fight. So that part is missing. That's it. I just wanted to mention that. People that were involved early on, they were, of course, more advanced users. They knew how to use it and so on. There are, however, several people that are actually continue to express interest and want to come in. And 280, all of them said, is for somebody that's coming in and just trying to get a handle on it. It's very daunting to figure out where all the documentation is. Is there like a beginner step or anything that we can do for documentation training, webinars and stuff like that from that group? That's very crucial because we get lost. And the second part was very last item, community support, responses to questions and issues. This is expected as we go through transition out to community. But their point was if there's anything that can essentially help in getting up a little bit more response. Sometimes we have questions and we don't hear back for a long time and we don't know where to go, right? And I think to some extent that's related to training and webinars and so on. Test coverage in CI/CD processes were way low in the list. And if you think about it, that's not surprising because the two groups that are there, the people that are already involved and doing things, they understand what they need to do for CI/CD and test coverage and stuff like that. And to the extent that they're already plugged in, they know about it. And the new guys that are coming in, they haven't got to that stage yet. So I wouldn't read those two pieces as a lack of interest or anything. It's just part of the form as such. I'll stop again and have anybody ask a specific question that I can give more light to on this.
Did they give any idea how we can improve this?
In what? In
I mean, CI/CD or the training, or I mean,
the training. So I would lump. There are really three. If you look at and think through, and maybe I can color this up in the different groups of this thing. The three types of groups here. One is people that are using it and actually looking through like stability and testing, and to the extent that they have forked their own code, even if somebody is not contributing upstream to the community. HL testing, test coverage, dev tools, very important to them. Stability of the code, etc., etc. People that are coming in new, they will take anything that we can do to streamline this thing. They're kind of like the feeling of, hey, whatever you can do, if you can give us trainings, webinars, answer questions, get people in a group. I also found out something else. Turns out that there's a Google group on Magma. I don't know how many people know that. I didn't know that. It was news to me. And as recent as a couple of months ago, people were asking questions on that.
Yeah, so we actually aren't really using the Google Groups mailing list anymore. Once Magma came over to the Linux Foundation, there was a new mailing list that was set up. So that one should have been deprecated.
Yeah, just it was surprised to me. There's still some people asking questions and things there. If nothing else, it would be good to sort of put a note there, or sticky or something there that says, hey, move over to the other side.
Yeah, and I think honestly, Sam, I think Facebook or Meta set that up. So maybe ask internally to see, because I don't actually have access to it. But if someone wants to grant me access, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, let me find that out.
Okay, great.
Just give me 1 second. Okay, the other thing was I was a little surprised on that the 5G wasn't higher and the stuff. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe because people that are already using, they have their own stuff. I don't know. Anybody else has got any?
5G is not that much high because they still don't have radios and CPs capable for this. I mean, if you go from the commercial deployment, they like the feature, they like to test, but massive rollout, they might need a little bit more time for massive rollout. Maybe some of the radios are software upgradable, but good amount of the radios, they need replacement, or they need some additional hardware modules to upgrade, and the CPs definitely are not software upgradable. So this is what delays in the let's say in the commercial application of the 5G features, from what I discussed with lots of customers. But definitely, everybody is interested in especially on the 5G standalone.
On the stability of code issue, given that it's so strongly pinned to the top, we should define that and figure out how to react and meet that need. Like, what are their concerns specifically?
Okay, so this is an interesting point. Pardon me. Got coffee on that. I felt, and I asked that, is that what is, and I asked even question at one point, X releases and this and that and so on, to the extent that I could. I think the stability of the code is more of a meat and potatoes feedback on the code, because the code is complex and stuff. So it just bubbled up, or I couldn't get as much difference. Does it mean that you want to see something that's a problematic at 1.6? Is it? I didn't get as much as clarity on that. Now, one thing that will be very useful is to figure out who's using what version of the code. And I think Web Labs, you guys will have visibility on that. Connect5G may have visibility on that, more as a broader group than any of the individual companies that I talk to, because the guys that are users of this code, a lot of them has forked the stuff internally, and they just did whatever they need to do to fix it internally.
I mean, for the code line on Connect5G, we use offshoot from 1.8. So it's 1.8 plus patches. This is what we are using. We abandoned 1.6 because we want to use more from the community version rather than in 1.6 we had lots of our own code which was related to the ARM porting, so we wanted to be more compatible to the main release. So we switched everything to 1.8.
Web Labs, any feedback? Any comment?
Yeah, so I think, the folks we are discussing are kind of on 1.6, and again, I mentioned, we tried an upgrade to 1.8, but somehow it didn't went through properly. So what we are thinking is, I think 1.9 will be a good choice. So we are trying to focus more on 1.9, mainly because of two reasons. First is the C++ migration. So anyways, anything fixing on 1.8 will be a challenge because I can't put it on 1.9. And second was there were a couple of stability issues in 1.8. So we are hoping that as soon as 1.9 is released, we can benchmark it.
So, Jordan, what I was thinking is just take this as the starting point of feedback to the working groups as they see fit. We can collapse some of these things like training, documentation, community support, etc., into one group, right? And the features. People who are most passionate about the HIL testing and any on the security certification, the coverage they can get. And there are two items to it. I think the C++C kind of memory leak issue kind of a thing that we discussed, that's in that group, as well as code scanning, any library exposure, making sure that they're current, things like that. I asked specifically about certification badges. I did not get any cohesive answer on that. I didn't get any feedback that says, okay, pick that one, or this is the obvious one for that. So not that much guidance on that.
I mean, this is good starting point. I mean, we will come back to you for feedback on some of these items, definitely, because I mean, just saying one line of here, it's not, it won't be enough for us to understand what was the extent of the discussion.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, we can extend with some of our feedbacks and our users and extend this list and get their opinion. But yeah, I mean, I almost recognize the with discussions which we have, what is the importance of the code stability and making sure that it works on the real hardware and make sure it's secure. So these are the main drivers for any operator which we are discussing.
So, go ahead.
No, I mean, I wanted just to conclude that yes, it's good starting point. We will come back to you for the information.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I'm going to put this up as a living document. So as I'm transcribing any questions and stuff, people can tag it, and then I can start filling in on the pieces as needed. And then we can also put in any other notes that other people may have on this. Kendall, is that going to be okay, or is that are there other ways of doing this, or maybe putting it in the wiki, whatever you think is the right way?
Yeah, I think putting in the wiki is good, and I can help with that.
Okay, so let me get this document over to you. It's been a while coming, and then I can work with you to put this on the wiki. Okay, second thing is what we do for outreach and community halls and stuff like that, and so on. So we discussed last week a directed email to these people, to anybody that's in the community, for user to do one-on-one at least follow-up with a message that, look, we are interested in your feedback, we're interested in participation. And I think we should divide that into two groups. One is the groups like, for example, I mentioned a company, I'm not going to go into the names of it, that were interested in helping us on the HIL testing. I am trying to find out, there was some equipment that was sponsored by Meta on interoperable testing, like the Spider equipment. I'm trying to see if there's any way of getting that back into a lab somewhere. So we reach out to them one-on-one, and I'm happy to do that. Kendall has offered to work with me to come up with a sort of a draft mailing thing that we could do. Kendall, I'm doing the same thing for the other group that we're forming, which is LFC. So I will happy to send them out together in the next day or so.
Okay, sounds great.
I don't have anything else. Thanks for your time, and welcome suggestions on how you want to go forward. I intend to do this polling and the feedback as a monthly process, so you can do monthly updates on this for the next few months going forward. Open to suggestions.
That's great. Thank you, Sam. Next on the agenda, Max, Basil switchover.
Yeah, hey. I think there was some discussion regarding when and how to do the final migration to switch to Basil. Jordan, I think you had a strong opinion to make it close to the release or the releasing process. And I would now like to advocate in the direction of making it earlier. And I would like to discuss that. So my proposal would be to just start to do the Basil migration as soon as possible. With the background in mind that TNG folks are more and more expected to roll off. So the Basil and the knowledge of the people that set it up is going to depart, and it would probably be beneficial to have more the overlap or have as much overlap as possible. And so that's why I wanted to open that for a discussion. And Jordan, I don't know if you.
Yeah, let me clarify just what is my strong position. There are two aspects of the switching of Basil from my perspective. One aspect is making sure all the things are working on Basil and we are able to build everything with Basil. The second aspect is remove all the make files in order to make sure that we have clean repository. My strong opinion is on the second, on the removing of the make files, not on the switching everything to Basil, to use Basil. So my understanding is for this switchover, the moment we decided to switch to Basil, from that moment onwards, we deprecated all the make files. Everything which is related to make is deprecated. And now we need to move everything to Basil. We will no longer support the make files. We will no longer merge the make files. We will no longer support the make files. The only remaining thing would be before the release, we will just delete them. So starting from 1.9, the make files will not be there, just not to make confusion. Because if you leave the make files in the repository, people will start trying to bring them back into life. And then we end up back to having to build systems. So this was my opinion, and I think this goes into what you are trying to say here, and I strongly support to speed up the things on the first part. Okay. You know, while we have the people.
I think that some of the cleanup is already included in some of the PRs, but then I will check to separate that and to go forward with the switch to Basil as a default build system as soon as possible. Yeah. I think there's just one last build of some Docker image that is still not fully green, but otherwise I think everything for the base switch is green. And just since it is roughly semantically matching to the current topic, I think Niels, you are on the line, and yeah, I think I just mentioned TNG roll-off. Niels is the next that is expected to roll off. And maybe you want to say a few words since you were especially visible here in that round.
Yeah, hi everybody, very quick. We have a full agenda. So as Max already said, as in scope of the handover from TNG to the community, we already had the plan to scale down the existing team. As the handover is on a good track, we decided now that I will move to another project. So after a short vacation, again, I will have a new project, and let me just say I had a lot of fun working with all of you, working on Magma, and I wish you all the best for the upcoming efforts. So presumably this will be my last meeting I will join. So have fun, see you all, and good luck.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Niels.
Niels.
I mean, we are looking forward to work again with you, and maybe in this or maybe other project.
Yeah, would be nice.
It's good to work with you, Niels.
Cool.
So
Let's
back to Kendall for the rest of the agenda.
thank you, Niels. Let's jump to okay, Lucas, you have a proposal.
So I propose basically that 1.9 be 1.9.0. And that going forward, we continue to use the semantic version numbering scheme. There are two reasons why open source as a whole has adopted this practice. One is for usability, and the other is most pressingly for security, because employers need to know whether or not upgrades are likely to be to create breakage. I don't propose that we do this to any earlier versions. I do propose that our current version 1.8 would have an implied version of 1.8.0, although we wouldn't change the label. And then depending on the scope of the changes, that the next version be either 1.8.1, 1.9.0, or 2.0. And as I understand it, 1.9.0 is the best fit for the proposed changes, which we'll discuss in the next agenda item. This only affects labeling, doesn't affect anything we would actually do, wouldn't be retroactive, and it wouldn't affect the current release. I will share. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to add comments to that. My first comment is my assumption already was that 1.8 is implicitly 1.8.0 and 1.8.1 would be somehow like a patch release. So I think it already matches my existing understanding. And the other thing is, I think we have a lot of breaking changes between 1.8 and 1.9. And we, so calling that semantic versioning might create too many expectations on compatibility between these releases. And as far as I know, we never do any cross compatibility checking. So I fear that calling that semantic version creates more expectations as we currently satisfy on the relation between 1.8 and 1.9. And strictly, we should go to 2.0, which is hard breaking with the current way of versioning stuff. So I wouldn't call it semantic versioning, as that creates a lot of expectations. Just my sense.
I think that the issues you raise are really good ones. I think if there are breaking changes, that we should flag that, and not going to 2.0 would confuse potential users. Are there breaking changes? Maybe let's move to the next item in order to discuss the scope of that. But I think maybe we can break this into two conversations. One is semantic versioning or not, and the other is what is the label for the next release?
I mean, just a quick opinion from my side. I agree with Max that we are already using semantic versioning. And for the next release, I don't have any breaking changes in mind. So in my opinion, it would still be possible for people to upgrade from 1.8 to 1.9. For me, major version change would be if people are not able to upgrade, but need to have a fresh install of Magma.
My definition of breaking change would be that people are integrating with our external interfaces, might be database. I don't know how applications integrate with our user management. And if we break any interface that is externally used, that is a breaking change.
Yeah, but there are two
But
types
that's
of
very strict.
No, I mean, and this is telecom product and it should be more strict. But there are two types of interfaces. There is the public and the private. Database would be private type of interface. So any changes of the database, actually it's up to the person who integrated through the database to adapt to the new version. But if we change the APIs in a way that they are not backward compatible, we introduce new version of the APIs, then this would consist of a breaking change. So now, if you have a breaking change, if you have completely, or if you have new versions of the APIs, definitely we will need to label it in a way that everybody understands that whoever integrated with the APIs from version 1 will now need to switch to APIs of version 2. But I mean, semantic versioning, in my opinion, it's very necessary for a project to be reliable for the deployer. Now definitely we need long discussion how we do this semantic versioning, and what also we need to do is we need to write a document where very clearly we are going to define the rules. So even if some rules are relaxed or some rules are more strict, as long as they are clearly defined, we will have good version control. If we leave it on interpretation, then we will have problems even if we don't use semantic versioning. I mean, this is my opinion, so.
So shall we discuss more in the features group meeting, Jochen? To take a final thought or another small meetings?
You guess I was not able to hear anything.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So shall we discuss in the smaller groups, Jordan, to identify?
I think so. I think we need to bring this discussion. I think we need to call a meeting just to discuss this thing. And I think this should be part of the features, because this is actually a question for the roadmap and features are on the same working group. So I think we need to bring it there, start discussing over there, and create a motion and bring the motion here for all of us to vote.
Sure.
I mean,
So
Lucas, do you agree with this approach?
That sounds good. So would that be that in the next features meeting, we do that?
Yes,
I would say yes.
Sounds good. I'll add a note on the issue. Yeah, so I think I assume we have consensus on where this is going, and we should just move forward. Sorry, that was awkward. What I mean is, sounds good. In the next features meeting, we'll work that out and we'll define what are the final details and bring it back to TSC for a vote.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and I mean, from TNG, if anybody knows of examples of problems with the breaking of backward compatibility at this moment, just please, share with all of us before the features meeting, so at least we will have more data at that time to discuss.
Yeah, I will ask the question in our round, but it was just my assumption that we never check for compatibility, but yep. What's next? 1.9?
Yes, from Yogesh.
Sure. So I'll just share my screen. Give me a moment. Yeah. So yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I think the idea we discussed in our last week's group meeting is to put all the items related to 1.9. In 1.8, we were having some surprises in that. So this time what I was planning was we'll put all the items here. And if few people are interested to take ownership of like HIL or 4G and all, they can comment here or they can reach out to us so that ownership can be fixed. So just to give an overview, here are the features which are tentatively targeted for 1.9. Let's say performance improvement, container-based support for 5GSA, new GNBs, logging improvement. So these features I have listed. In case if I have missed anything, please let me know. This is to the best of my knowledge following on the Slack and having all the discussions. So this was the features and what it takes to make a release. What is the content of the release? Like mainly it's 4G, 5G core orchestrator tag. These are the items. Of course, it is we can add more, but these are the like high level things which I feel goes as part of the release and the release procedure, what we follow. And this is the main topic I wanted to take it up here. Feature set. So maybe if this list is okay, we can say these are the features. But if something else has to be added, we can do it and say it is these are the contents of 1.9. Bug fixes from the last release. Documentation. So I think last time we did documentation to the end. We'll try to see if we can avoid it and do it before we create the branch so that all the documentation are in place. Main challenge we faced in the last release was this testing activity. What happened? The TerraVM support went off, and we were relying only on the 5G, 4G, the S1AP tester to do it. I think community electronics, one of the community members, they came forward to do some scalability and HIL kind of test, but it was quite late and it was just before the release. So, if somebody from the community is interested to take, especially the 4G testing, let me know. 5G testing, we are covered because we have both Spirent and the commercial tool which is doing it. And of course, the upgrade related testing and orchestrator and EGW related testing. So, and here are a few takeaways from the last release. So the idea was, we have to start thinking about 1.9. We have to put some timelines. And if folks can come forward and take some ownerships, we can add them in our Magma release group so that we can discuss and come to a common conclusion that we can do some organization on who will do what and by when. So tentatively, if we generally a release takes around 2 months because of the process and the things involved. If everything goes fine, 1.5, but otherwise roughly it will take 2 months. So even if we start now, we'll be somewhere in like early May or last of April. So this is what we wanted to do. And now why 1.9? Because of the performance issues in 1.8 and C++ migration. We wanted to, set a date so that it becomes easier to tell to our users of Magma that hey, this is where 1.9 will be available. So I'll stop here. Let me know if there's any questions, comments. We have discussed this in our last features group meeting, and I'm presenting it here so that we can conclude on the timelines and ownership. Okay. So people can add comments if they want to take something, because then it will be visible to all, or else they can reach out to us in the features group. Anything is okay.
Okay, so what would be the next steps for this, Yogesh?
Yeah, that's so first is to review. The next step will be to review the contents of the next release, what I have highlighted, and finalizing that these are the contents, features, as well as the bug list from 1.8. And the immediate after that, once we have agreed on the features, ownership and the timelines. If there is anyone in the community who wants to take like agile testing of 4G, they can let us know, or else, maybe we'll go with some assumption that this portion will be tested, this will not be tested. And then in the features group, we can come up with a timeline, propose to TSC, and then we take the overall release activity. So feature, content, freezing, ownership, and the timeline. These are the three things we want to derive from here.
So do we need to do some outreach to the community that we are preparing the 1.9 and that we have this, let's say, high-level plan here? And we also ask people from the community to comment on.
Yes, yes. And we have to give some timeline, because if nobody comes by a certain period, then we'll go ahead and say that we are going, let's say CVAC not tested or test unit tested, right?
Yeah. When is the next meeting for the feature?
It is right now it is planned for Friday 10 p.m. IST. If we agree on some alternate slot, I'll let you know. But if not, it will be Friday 10 p.m. IST.
Okay, so I'll start by sending the issue to the channel, to the announcement, and to the general channel that we are preparing this 1.9, and that up to Friday we are expecting people to come up with their comments, and then that I'll inform them that they can join the next feature meeting, in which they can discuss this roadmap and this plan.
Great.
If this is okay with you.
Yes, yes. Somehow we have to push 1.9 because it's already, I think, 6 months. So yeah, that will be great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all from my side. If there are no questions or comments. Okay, yeah, please put on if you have any comment, suggestion, please put on here, and it will be visible. Thanks. That's all from my side.
Thanks, Yogesh. Great. With about 8 minutes left, we have one last item from Max, some tasks that should be picked up.
Yeah, it's just a list of issues that were identified while going through all the issues that we see as what to do now, what to do next, what do we see as out of scope. This is some curated subset of important issues that we see would be good to be picked up by the community. For example, GitHub Actions still uses Node version 12 in some places for 1.8 and for latest main. And this needs to be updated. So there's a set of issues, and it might be good if someone doesn't know what to do next, or needs to find a task that is good for someone, or I don't know. There might be many reasons. This is just small subset of tasks that I want to highlight. And if you are interested in that topic, just click through and just read the headlines, and maybe there's something for you in that list. And yeah, I also linked the handover page that where this subset was created. Okay. If I have a few minutes left, I can also give a small update regarding the handover overall. I think we had this page for knowledge that we want to hand over, and as far as I know, there's nearly everything has a green check mark. There are just two things without a green check mark. That is some details about caching in GitHub Actions and about secrets in GitHub Actions, which is very niche knowledge that actually the people just that might not be as important, and where there's a lot of upstream GitHub documentation. So I would say that we are pretty close to having green check marks for everything on that page. I will also link it in the current meeting notes. And with that, the important ask is, is there anyone still seeing anything knowledge-wise that still is missing or that needs to be handed over? Otherwise, I would maybe start claiming that we are green with knowledge handover, and we are potentially done, despite still continuing to talk and to contribute and so on. But I think that's looking good.
Regarding the secrets handover, maybe a conversation with myself and Shivam and other interested parties. What's your plan for that item?
Yeah, I think there are two parts. There's one part, the theoretical item, how to handle or how secrets are working in GitHub Actions. And there's the second part of how to fill secrets on GitHub Actions, or in GitHub, which is mainly done by LF. So we are asking LF to put something in there. So I don't know, maybe that was mostly everything you need to know about that specifically to the project. But yeah, I will try to schedule a small meeting for interested people, but
Yeah.
I don't assume that it is a lot. Yeah. John?
Would it be possible also to have a document with LF, because whoever inherits this project in future from us, he should be able to have this information without us being there to tell them. You know, just making sure that there is a longer continuity of this information.
I agree, but it's more it's more in the hands of the LF. So we can try to document it, but it would be something that could be a lot better be documented by LF or by the support that we get from them.
Yeah, this was my point. So can we understand how would be this process?
If it's anything with IT, that would be LFIT that would know more than I am.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe if someone from LFIT could write a few words regarding how secrets are handled, and I don't know if there yeah, I don't know what else there is that is LF knowledge that should be also documented in the same way.
I mean, they don't need per se to write how they're handling these things. What they need to write is what input they expect from the project and when do they expect the input, you know. not really how they do these things internally. That would be irrelevant for the project. But rather what and when, what the project needs to give to them and when the project needs to give it.
Okay, I'll have someone from LFIT either join the next TSC call or have them ready available on Slack, and we can figure this out.
Thanks.
Maybe the next security call, because it's not recorded and the access is limited.
Sure. Okay, that actually brings us to the end of the agenda. There's only 1 minute left, but is there anything that people would like to bring up before we end? I'll take this silence as a no. Then we can go ahead and end. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
About